Well, thank you and good morning. Today's session theme is how we can help you increase your sales, reduce your costs, and differentiate your brand, leveraging the solutions from Infor that you already have. As Con mentioned, I'm Shelley Horn. I'm the Director of Industry Solution and Strategy. I've got over 28 years, 30 years in the Infor ecosystem, and Konrad has 10. We've been working together very closely, and Konrad is a product specialist for Infor partners. At the end of the session, we'll hold for questions. So as Con mentioned, please put them in the chat, and Konrad's going to be going through those at the end. So before I start, I'm going to let some of our customers speak for us. Lippert is a manufacturer of RV products, and they talk about how CPQ is driving more consumer research and dealer engagement. Anderson is a manufacturer of commercial and residential windows and doors, and they point to how their costs have been reduced in new product introduction. And Aston Martin is a luxury sports car manufacturer, and they continue to differentiate their brand through visual engagement. So overall, our enterprise solution helps customers design, market, sell, make, and deliver their products. Over to the right, you'll see examples of markets where CPQ has a strong focus. And I think based on the registration list, we've seen some building products companies, furniture, specialty vehicles, equipment and machinery, industrial components, flow control, as well as some high tech and electronics. So there should be something here for everyone. So for more than 25 years, this enterprise solution has addressed tough customer challenges like flat and declining sales, increasing costs, and brand commoditization. So organizations were looking to improve flat or declining sales, and there were certain ways that they were struggling with. So maybe the products were hard to sell, and maybe product introductions were slow. From a cost perspective, they were increasing through quoting and order errors, and they were also had a lot of manual effort and duplication of work. And from a brand commoditization perspective, it resulted from having long lead times and being difficult to work with. So like it or not, in today's world, it is a different place. Today's buyers are made up of digitally fluent millennials and Gen Zers, and they expect the same level of attentiveness, personalization, and ease as their B2B experiences. So this effective digital engagement during the research process increases the quoting or estimating likelihood, gets your product spec'd in, hopefully leads to an order, and does really what every CEO cares more about than anything else, and that is growing sales, right? So companies have to drive this awareness, establish presence, because 80% of the time, buyers have already established the preferred vendor, and 85% of the time, they already have their purchase requirements known. Now, the good news is Infor CPQ can help turn your sellers into problem experts, because research shows that buyers change their problem statement an average of 3.1 times. So what that means is that when that research process is going on and maybe they've selected a preferred vendor already, well, what if their preferred vendor doesn't have what they need and they don't have it immediately? So this is where taking an automated system and giving it to your sellers so they are sure that what they're quoting, estimating, and pricing can be delivered, that fast turnaround now is expected, and your ability to do that helps you stay in the game. So think about the differences in what buyers and sellers expect. So how a designer works with a furniture manufacturer for her client is completely different than how a contractor or a manufacturing rep might work with an electronics manufacturer, because they're going to put some of their products or components into a larger assembly. So the process is completely different in those situations. And so you have to have a solution that's flexible enough to potentially deal with multiple ways that you might buy and sell. We have customers, and even some of them are under 20 million in annual revenue, that sell 5 different ways. They sell direct. They have house accounts. They take orders through EDI. They might have distributors, and they also sell through manufacturers reps. And that's a lot to do as a $20 million company, right? So just thinking about what are all the ways that we can engage, and how is it that we use the same content and data, we just serve it up in different ways to the right persona. So kind of thinking now over the last 6 years between COVID and working from home and all the ways that the market has changed with AI, now we have to address all the previous challenges because they still exist, and a whole new set. So now thinking about making products that are difficult to customize, making that easier and making it transparent, making sure the customer can get exactly what they want. Increasing costs are driven by those same manual activities and duplication of effort. But one of the big things that has changed is this loss of domain knowledge. People have retired early because of work from home. They've changed jobs after 20 years. So you've got to get that domain knowledge into a system. So again, it can be served up to multiple different personas. And then thinking about product differentiation and engaging digital content. So how can you grab that person and make sure that they're looking at your solution during their research and self-service processes? So Infor's solution, it addresses yesterday's and today's tough customer challenges with a complete solution. And the word configure can be a bit misleading. You do not have to have a complex configure to order product to use Infor CPQ, right? Configuring is more than just products. It can be system solutions, and it can guide the user to the right selection. Pricing isn't just the price to whoever the end customer is, but there might be multiple people in there. There might be a distributor and a manufacturing rep. And so you have to be able to calculate cost, margin, discounts, price adders, and all of those complex pricing situations. And quoting or estimating isn't just generating a document, but how can you provide self-service across all those selling channels with a tool that makes both simple and complex quoting requirements much, much easier? We get asked often, well, what if we don't sell a configured product necessarily? We have a base product with a few options and accessories. Well, what you can do is you can help guide the user to the solution that's right for their needs, maybe helping them pick the industrial pump that's going to most effectively push that material vertically. And maybe the path has, a right angle in it. So what's the right pump for that? There are a lot of ways that you can help that experience. So many solutions out there, CPQ solutions, do these types of things. But then when it comes down to processing that and pushing it down to the backend system, there's no manufacturing configurator embedded deep within the manufacturing system. And that is what makes Infor so unique, is that we have that ability for that exact same configurator to launch within the backend system, make change orders, and it does that manufacturing automation exactly where it's supposed to happen, dynamically creating bills of materials and routings. So this makes us very, very different, and we are regarded by Gartner and other analysts as the best manufacturing solution across the board. We're the only one that is the leader across the 5 main analysts. So you might be thinking to yourself, okay, we do this already, so why do we need a CPQ solution? So these processes do exist, but they might not be automated. They might not be integrated. They might be departmentally siloed. So you might have a different marketing selector or marketing configurator than you do for a quoting configurator or a sales configurator. You might have an engineering BOM builder. Okay, but that's very, focused on engineering. What about the rest of the pieces? How can we make that available out on sales and marketing side? And in many cases, they rely on multiple technologies. So from an Infor perspective, our enterprise solution addresses today's tough customer challenges with a complete solution and robust capabilities. There are so many, but we're going to highlight these 10 throughout the rest of the presentation. So think about here, right down the middle, this is what's happening on the front end, right? Everything to engagement, And selection and pricing, we can integrate that from your CRM solution. Anybody can quote and order your products and provide compelling proposals. So this is the pre-order, if you will. And then there's this post-order, right? And that's where that is super important, that we're using the same engine and data behind the scenes to drive it all, because now there's no rekeying for the order. You push the button and it converts the order. It can dynamically generate bills of materials and routings, but even kits and SKUs, right? So again, you don't have to have a complex configurable product. Your pricing or your speccing process might be very, very complex. And so you need a system to streamline that. We do have quoting analytics. We provide anytime, anywhere access, so on any device, and we do have artificial intelligence capabilities. One of the best things for Infor CPQ is that we have an industry-leading enterprise application platform. So we don't have to build our own AI system behind the scenes to be able to process all the data. We don't have to build an analytics system. We don't have to build document management and even collaboration with ions and workflows, right? So we don't have to build all this. What we're able to do then is we're able to take those capabilities and build CPQ specific content on top of that. So thinking about that wheel ahead of time that I just showed, right? The very first thing is visual engagement and interaction. So we have 6 ways that you can do that. Currently within configuration, you can use static images and you can create 2D parametric models that support the sales and manufacturing process, like you can see here with the fire engine. We also can generate fully parametric 3D assemblies, and you can save those as a PDF and attach them to your proposals. We also provide interactive 3D. So think about this as something where you might need to spin the particular product upside down. Maybe you want to look at the casters on this chair just to make sure that they're going to meet your needs and you think they're going to slide well on your surface. Maybe you want to drill into the underneath of where a particular heating element is, just to make sure that there's enough clearance to where it is that you're going to set the piece of machinery. We do have augmented reality, and there's going to be an example of that later. And something new in 2024 was 2D photorealistic images. And think of this as similar to interactive 3D because you can interact with the model, but this is much more lightweight. So you would use resources that have capabilities like Photoshop and things like that. And so what you can do is you can make changes to the products. In this particular case, you can see all the selections were the same, except we changed the paint on the particular forklift. But you can also do things like you can rotate it. You can, change virtually any piece of this that you want. And what this does in general is this is a way that you can engage your user, because pictures are worth 1,000 words, and we humans process images 60,000 times faster than we do words. So this is why that's pretty important to start the process out. Then we're going to make it very easy for you to select, configure, and price your products. So you can see here there's just a variety of techniques that are used to guide the user through the selection process. Visual images, multiple tabs, radio buttons, drop-down boxes, check boxes, a whole variety of different things, ensuring that only valid options can be selected. You can also have it set up to include additional features, options, or accessories from an upselling perspective, and make whoever's doing the quoting select no. So think about your own experiences when you buy something. They may say, okay, I'm going to buy a pair of tennis shoes. Do I want them to be personalized? Yes or no? Well, they default to yes, because that's what they want you to do, because it drives up their price and their margin. So there are a lot of ways that you can use this to guide the users to the behaviors that you want and how you want them to sell. We do have the capability to launch that same quoting experience from within Salesforce, Dynamics, and Infor CRM. The screenshot that you see here, it takes enterprise quoting, which is the application I'll talk to you about next, and it actually takes it to where you can't tell if I'm a user, if I'm a sales rep. It doesn't look like I've left Salesforce. So we basically use the style sheets and the theming to make it look exactly like Salesforce or Dynamics. From a quoting and ordering perspective, I talked about multi-channel, right? The ability for virtually anybody that quotes, specs, or estimates your product to be able to use a manufacturer branded self-serving portal, right? So anybody then has the ability to configure, price, quote, approve, and order your products. We have the workflow capabilities, right, which is super important now because people aren't necessarily located in the same facility like they used to be, right? So you don't have to walk down the hall and get immediate approval. It provides that approval tracking and serves as one source of the truth. From a proposal perspective, we can assemble a whole variety of documents that the user needs for a complete, accurate proposal. So on a case-by-case basis, the user can select whether they want to include things like cover letters, spec sheets, even contracts. So this can be used for both quoting and the ordering process because you can also have ways to import POs and be able to attach those to the documents. From an analytics perspective, we have quote analytics. So it is also a manufacturer branded experience, right? There's a channel dashboard. You can drill down into data, you can drill back up to CPQ, but it provides that one source of the truth, eliminates spreadsheets and a lot of those manual activities. So anybody that's interested in looking at how are we doing with our quotes, what's open, what needs to be worked on. Oh, we lost that many. Let's go in and look at why that is. So this provides that ability then for leadership to make good future decisions based on good data. So this is a live QR code. So if you have your cell phone, go ahead and take that, hold out your camera up to this QR code, and you will literally be able to put that chair right next to you in your space. So what augmented reality does is it is a fully responsive experience based on the device that you're using. So if you have a tablet versus a cell phone, your experience is going to be a little bit different. And we use a mobile app, right? So you have that anytime, anywhere access, even a laptop. In some cases, farmers like to see as much of the equipment as possible. So they say, the tablet's just too small. So sometimes reps go out and sit on the back of the tailgate with the farmer, and they look at different implements then to, hook onto their tractors. And so you can just see how different they are and how they're rendered differently. And with remote work, we have a solution that can handle those capabilities. Okay, so generative AI, everybody is really interested in this. And so we are working very hard to make sure that we're providing capabilities to help our customers streamline quoting and ordering in a lot of different ways, as well as making the content and the rules writing and the rules maintenance much easier and take less time. So if you happen to have Infor CPQ in the cloud today, then these use cases would be available to you in the April release that is available now, assuming that you have Velocity Suite. What you see here for the bottom four, those are ready from a CPQ perspective, but they do use Infor's generative AI assistant, which today is not generally available yet. It's in limited availability and is expected to be GA in October. But if you look at some of these things, you can see an auto quote summary. So it helps the reps pull out the most important pieces and make sure that they're creating a very personal and quote specific message to the recipient. Doing the translations in the natural language, that's very, very important. And doing a quote search. Hey, I want to try to search for this quote. So particularly companies that have lots of quotes, it's sometimes hard to find the right one. And then the quote version comparisons. So inside of enterprise quoting, we have the ability to save multiple versions. Well, what if your process means you have 33 quotes as average? Well, that's a lot. And so, maybe I want to see, quote 12 and quote 17, and I want to compare the two. AI is going to help you compare the two and tell you what the difference is. So the majority of our use cases are on the quoting side because that's where the demand is. And we also have just come out with an expression assistance capability. So what this does, when you're inside the rules development engine, you can go in and you can use the generative AI assistant, and it will help you generate an expression as well as check the expressions that you have. So huge from a time reduction and speed to market perspective. In future releases, there's going to be more and more capabilities of using AI to write the rules and that content. Okay, so far you've heard how our solution addresses tough customer challenges with a complete solution, provides robust capabilities, and drives real value. So we're going to flip it now. So we're going to help you increase sales because more quoting in minutes and not days helps you provide more quotes. Faster new product introductions helps you grow market share. You can reduce your costs by providing self-service quoting and ordering, which leads to fewer errors and fewer cycles. Anytime that you can automate non-value-added activities helps you eliminate headcount from the process. Right? Most organizations are, especially manufacturers, are not looking to eliminate physical people. They're looking to make what they're doing more productive and more valuable to the company. So if you have 5 sales reps and they spend 20% of their time every day answering order status questions, well, provide a way for the customers to go in and look at that on their own. And now they each have 20% of their time to spend, hopefully, creating more quotes, working more with the customers, and it'll shorten that lead to order time. From a brand differentiation perspective, these visual design capabilities and personal content will help generate more leads and drive higher margins. So when we think of all those value areas, I'm sure you're thinking, well, okay, great, you're saying it drives real value, but give me some examples. So CombiLift, they make forklifts. They increase the revenue transaction by 30%. Accurate Partitions makes restroom partitions, and they reduce their training time by 50%. Great Plains Manufacturing makes agricultural equipment. They increased their sales volumes 5 times over 10 years without hiring any additional resources. And Overhead Door, they lead in the residential and commercial garage door and rolling doors. They improved their brand loyalty, and their dealers call Infor CPQ a game changer. So these are some examples of not only traditional value that customers get from a CPQ solution, but all of these are specific value and ROI that our customers have received and continue to receive. 90% reduction in quote errors, 75% reduction in training time, 80% faster quote cycle time. So these are real results that drive real value for our customers. So why should you consider Infor's solution? There's so many ways, but we're just going to talk about these 5. We believe we have the best product in the market, and the analysts agree, because it's fast, it's easy, it's complete, it's modern, and we have a composable engine. So these rapid configurations, modifications, and the changes, that makes it fast. It's going to model all your product knowledge to be complete, and we talked about the Infor OS and that standards-based technology platform. So in general, all the information that you need is in one spot, and you can tailor it based on the buyer or the seller. We also can meet all of your organization needs, regardless of whether it's marketing, sales, engineering, manufacturing, or management. So, marketing is looking for engaging digital content, and they want to make sure that the products are consistently presented. Sales wants a mobile app. right? And they want their customers to be able to do some self-service. Engineering can wants those specials and that specials handling to be automated, so they have to spend less engineering time as part of the process. And they love the automation of the 2D and 3D CAD automation. From a manufacturing perspective, they want all of this information to be correct, so they can take that and create accurate bills of materials and routings, and then also the manufacturing orders. And from a management perspective, what they want is they want to be able to do quick approvals, right? And then they want to see the analytics and the AI associated with the data so they can make better decisions. Infor's enterprise solution was designed from the ground up 25 years ago to be system agnostic. So it works with virtually any system. It has open APIs and it can easily tie into other solutions. So not just ERP, not just CRM, but tying into CAD with quoting and commerce and things like that. So think about traditional order to fulfillment. Apologies here. Right, so from a CAD perspective, we have standard integration with the big players. From an ERP perspective, we have standard integration with the big players. And you may say, well, we don't run Oracle or Microsoft, we run an Infor ERP, but there are situations where companies are acquired or divested. So if you have a corporate parent that happens to have one of these, you can take your system along with you very, very easily. From a quote to order perspective, that could be from a CRM solution, and that could also be from an e-commerce solution. Maybe it's not so much quoting. Maybe it's actually, I want to digitally engage and then I want to just buy. And then that leads to, how do you want to offer up your products? Do you want it to be, do I want to have a configurator on the website? Each one of these has a different public facing site where you can go in and play with their products, and it's powered by the Infor CPQ solution. So Lippert, for example, they don't make RVs, but they make accessories for RVs, replacement furniture, replacement windows and doors, attachments like awnings and different ways to hook the RV up to a different vehicle of some sort. So their experience is very, very different, say, from Hammond Power, and they make transformers. Right, so I want to be able to go in and I want to do a quick estimate on my own without talking to Hammond about, hey, can I find a transformer that's going to suit my needs? And then I think we all know Aston Martin, right? That's James Bond's car, but they have a configurator out on their website that allows the consumer to go in and play around with it and upsell on their own. So when they go to the dealership, it's a buying transaction and not as much kicking the tires. Right, so we've got standard supported integration with 18 plus systems. We've done service level integration with another 20. But the biggest thing that it does is Infor CPQ helps our customers win the business and then take that order and process it correctly down on the back end ERP. And lastly, we are focused on getting you live and getting you results, not just selling you the software. So you can see our 6 heroes, our most prestigious customers over here that hopefully everybody recognizes. But in all of those industries and markets that I showed on the first couple of slides, we do have a large amount of customers that are recognizable. So with that, Konrad, I think we're ready to ask questions.
Yes, please put in your questions into the chat or QA, and I'll make sure I'll forward those to Shelley. We do have one. I think you talked about e-commerce. Do we have to use Infor e-commerce or CRM to use the CPQ solution?
Oh, no, you don't. One of the wonderful things about the Infor solution is, as I mentioned, it was built to be system agnostic. So the exact same method that we integrate with Sightline and CSI, for example, is the exact same way that we integrate with other Infor ERP as well as Microsoft and Oracle ERPs. The same thing is true with e-commerce. And I'll back up to that slide. Where are we? There we are. So in this particular case, same with CRM, What we do is we use our standard APIs and our open architecture along with the Infor technology stack to create standard ways that we integrate. And we've literally been doing this for 25 years, and we started on the CAD side. So those APIs, or those adapters, if you will, they are designed to be used with any of these solutions. We just happen to have standard supported integration with what you see up here. But no, you do not have to use an Infor solution. You don't have to use an Infor Commerce or CRM either.
Okay, thank you. Next question is regarding pricing. Customer says, we have a custom pricing system. Do we have to replace it?
Oh, the answer is no. Another beautiful thing about our solution is that you can have your data wherever you want it, and it doesn't have to be one or the other. So as I mentioned earlier, when we were talking about, I'll go all the way up to the beginning here. We talked about how we're talking to users and who those users are. There we are. Oop. So the thing about how you, and Konrad, will you repeat your question, please? I lost track.
Sure, it has to do with custom pricing system.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So
they have to replace it.
Right. So you may have a pricing model that you use for your contractors, and for whatever reason, it was built in another system. Maybe it's in an Excel spreadsheet or an Access database. You do not have to bring that into the CPQ engine or into your ERP system to be able to use it. We have those robust APIs, and you can connect to it however it is that you like. Many customers have all kinds of different subsystems for pricing. You also have the ability, if you are using the CPQ engine for pricing, is you have the ability inside there to have different pricing models. So you can even set like your customers up in, bronze, silver, and platinum, and they can have different pricing models associated with how you want them to sell.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Shelley. Next question is with regard to the on-prem version, and how does it compare to what was presented?
Sure. So from an on-premise perspective, we are supporting the solution. It is going into extended maintenance for the product lifecycle policy inside of Infor. And if you're still on premise, you should have received a notice about that, I think about 9 months ago. But all of the major capabilities that I showed today, almost all of them have been built only in the cloud versions of the solution. So that's different than it is, for example, on the Sightline side, where the code base is the same if it is on premise or in the cloud. But from a CPQ perspective, it is not. There were some major re-architectures to make the systems run lickety-split fast in the cloud for customers, because many cases they're your external users. They could be your customers, your dealers, your contractors, and they just don't wait. So through that architecture reorganization, we made the decision with our development resources that we were only going to focus on the cloud solutions going forward.
Thank you. Next question is, how can we see this in action? I can take that question. I'll be happy to provide you with a kind of a self-guided, pre-recorded demo, as well as we can schedule a presentation of the solution for you. So that's something I'll be following up on. So thank you for that question.